Hey guys, it's the Tominator. So let's talk about the 2021 Puerto Rico Pro. This was the top 3 callout featuring Mohamed Shaaban, Hassan Mostafa, and Akim Williams from left to right respectively. And to me, this was a pretty straightforward outcome. Akim was the favorite to win on paper going into this. He's top 6 in the world now after all. And sure enough, he did just that. Hassan and Mohamed are both heavy hitters like their fellow Egyptian Big Ramy, packing a lot of thick, dense muscle, especially in Hassan's case. But Akim was simply too much for them and won the majority of the poses, including this one, I'd wager. He's got the best biceps and the most polished-looking upper body, plus that tiny waist and the sweeping lats makes for an impressive outline. The quads are nice and the chest is thick. The only real flaws I can see are those high attachment sites when it comes to the lats and calves, but that's relatively minor in the grand scheme of things. He still looks crazy here. Hassan there in the middle is basically matching him on size, but he didn't bring enough separation this time around, especially in the thighs. His calves are definitely a step above, but the lats don't flare out as dramatically as Akim's. Mohamed is better conditioned. He might have even been the most ripped of the 3, and his quads and abs are on the money here. However, the complete lack of calves is tough to overlook, and his arms are the weakest in this shot. Genetically speaking, and this is nothing against the guy, but Hassan and Akim are both very genetically gifted. I would not put this guy on that same level, but even still, you might put him ahead of Hassan simply for the conditioning factor alone. In the front lat spread, I definitely have Shaaban taking this over Hassan now, since Hassan is way too smooth. Akim probably still edges it out though. He looks a little funky through the pecs, so it's not my favorite pose of his, but he's just packing so much muscle, it's hard to deny the guy. His taper is also the most pronounced with those flaring lats and wide set shoulders, so yeah, I'd go with Williams once again in first, then Shaaban in second. So if those first 2 poses were close, there can be no debate in the side chest. Akim is stomping them. The leg alone is just dominating, but then you look up top and that shoulder and chest is just too much quality beef. Look at the cap on his rear delt, guys. Then again, look downstairs at those striated glutes and diced outer quads. It's simply a blowout here. I think based on this look, Mohamed Shaaban is winning the battle for second place. Hassan is thicker, but the conditioning just wasn't there. His whole upper body looks way too soft. Turning around, Akim suddenly looks a lot more vulnerable than a moment ago. His big margin of victory in the last pose is not repeated here. I think he still might eke it out since he's got the best balance top to bottom, but it's not a blowout by any means. Hassan's back looks awesome, tons of hard, rippling muscle, and he looks a lot sharper here than he did from the front or side, at least in terms of the upper body. Unfortunately, the lower body was still not ready. The glutes and hamstrings are lagging behind pretty badly, but even so, I might still put him ahead of Shaaban based on this look. Shaaban is way more conditioned, that much is obvious, but he looks pretty awkward and bunched up right now. Not sure if it was just the timing of the pick, but his back is not opened properly, and it looks like he's hiking up his shoulder girdle or something. I don't know, the presentation looks a little odd. Akim wasn't quite as peeled as Shaaban, and you can note that his glutes there aren't as striated, and his back doesn't look as dry or thin-skinned. But his posing technique and the separation in his shoulders and arms is superior. He's also wider through the lats and showing a bit more detail in the hams, so yeah, I'd give him this one as well. And the back lat spread also has to go to Akim pretty much by default, because once again, he's the most complete. Shaaban is drier, but his back is kind of weak in comparison, while Hassan can match Akim's back development, but not his lower body conditioning. So really, the question once again is who's coming in second? The side triceps is Akim as well, at least in my opinion. Like the front lat spread, it's not a great pose for him, but in this lineup, I think it's good enough to get the job done. Hassan looks absolutely crazy through the upper body, with excellent abs and all the thick mass you could ever ask for, but those quads are just not cutting it right now. You give him some actual separation there, and he probably takes this shot, but as it is, I can't reward that. Shaaban looks solid, but he's getting outmassed pretty badly from the side next to Akim. Other than the midsection, he's not winning any body parts right now. I'd have Hassan Mostafa in second this time. Now, the ab and thigh is the first pose that Akim doesn't win, but it's a moot point at this late juncture of the game. I would give it to Hassan because his quads are finally showing a bit of life at last, with some nice feathering down there by the knee, and he's got the most defined abs by a mile. This is actually why Akim loses, because his abs are faded and he suddenly looks kinda soft now. The quads, while still pretty neatly separated, don't have any of the hard graininess of Shaaban's. In fact, you could easily make a case for Shaaban here too, but again, I just think Hassan Mostafa is too far ahead when it comes to the midsection definition. So on to the most muscular, and this is a great closing shot for all of them. Shaaban's got some Branch Warren-like graininess and vascularity going on, and structurally this hands-on hip works well for him by maximizing his shoulder-to-waist ratio and really highlighting his strong points like the thighs and abs. Not really a whole lot to criticize aside from the calves. Akim shows a lot of wow factor with those massive round delts and feathered quads. The pecs, arms, traps, and midsection all look excellent as well. The only thing you can nitpick is that I'd like to see a bit more lateral tricep sweep to really give this pose that 3D illusion effect, a la Phil Heath or Flex Wheeler. Plus, of course, some bigger calves would always be nice, but hey, let's face it, you could say that for about 3/4 of the field today. Hassan looks good here, but not great. Yet again, the quads need to show more cuts, and he's a little narrow across the shoulders. Still, no shortage of muscle, he's completely filled out his frame. It would just be nice to see a little more quality to go along with all that quantity. Overall, I'd probably give this one to Akim again, but Shaaban is right there nipping at his heels. So in the end, I think that's about as clear-cut a victory as you're ever going to see in pro bodybuilding, and the perfect scores Akim received reflect that. But I fully agree with Mohamed Shaaban in runner-up, since he was in considerably better shape than Hassan, and that deserves to be rewarded. But what do you guys think about this one? I've seen some comments on social media saying it was close and could have gone any which way, or that Shaaban could have rightfully taken it. Personally, I don't agree with that, but I could see if you're really fixated on conditioning, then an argument could certainly be made. But overall, when you look at the bigger picture and factor in other elements like mass, symmetry, completeness, and round full muscle bellies, Akim is on another level, simply put. So that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching, and as always, it's the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.